So in this video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the last chapter in my book. I've had a few comments and a couple of questions, and I just wanted to kind of highlight this, right? So if you haven't read my book, you haven't picked this up yet, then what I've actually done, right? It kind of mimics what I've discussed with Bitcoin over the last several months, right? And I guess for me personally, this is, I guess the confidence level in terms of the direction, the trend, the overall situation, kind of the outcome, and so on. I've actually had this and put this into a published book, right? So in terms of the example scenario, right, this is a little bit about putting all this together, right? So I'm not going to go through this too quick. This is just the example scenario. I'm going to scroll down towards the end. Right? So what I've actually done, I've given two likely scenarios, right, in terms of what I'm seeing with Bitcoin, right? And throughout the book, I've given, I guess, the logic behind how you'd come to this conclusion, right? So the general idea of the last chapter was to put this into practice to kind of show why these moves are likely to happen, right? So we scroll down a bit further. So the general idea is going through what I've discussed with the first option, right, 0, 1, down for a larger scale 2, as well as the secondary option, right, where the current all-time high is actually only what I would regard as a monthly 3, right? So I'm not going to go into what type of cycle, super cycle and this, that, and the other. This is just my overall bias, right? This is part of what I've done again throughout the book is to simplify it, right? I don't want to swing every every move, every little factor. I'm not looking for this, right? My use of Elliot in particular is specifically to give me a general bias, right? Once I've obtained the bias, I can start drilling into more and more detail, right? So scrolling down again, I've covered where and why I'm seeing this type of move based on the current COT data, right? And like I said, the whole point of this is to put all of these little pieces together, right? So I just wanted to share that in terms of, I guess, kind of a summary, and then I'm going to flick back over to the charts and just cover again one more time in terms of what I've just shown. Right, so to do this, I want to go back to the last little bit that I showed, the last chart here. This one. Okay, so these are the options. Okay, guys, so I guess what I've just shown in the video, right, about the book, and especially the last chapter, the whole point of the book and kind of going through the sequence is, as I said at the start, to get the reader, to get the audience, to get you guys to understand it in the chronology that I've laid it out. And then the final chapter was kind of putting the pieces together. And what I wanted to do was, rather than use a scenario that's easy to see in hindsight, I wanted to put into the book the outcome going forward, right? So I've kind of mapped it out on purpose with a view of the future rather than majority of other books showing something that's already happened, right? I do feel confident in, obviously, one, the ability in terms of trading this. I've shown my calls from the bottom, reaccumulation, why the rocket call at the top, how 28 was already predetermined, why this was a 3-4 move, and the reaccumulation, why we would see just above the old all-time high before dropping, the trend line break, into this accumulation. What I've talked about for the last 6-7 months now is this pattern, this accumulation pattern, right? So as you've just seen in the video that I've just played, in terms of the book, I've actually made this my last chapter, right? And this schematic has been playing out kind of ever since. The book has been published. It's not a self-published book. I guess for me, this is the biggest reason and the purpose behind every time I say nothing's changed. Nothing's changed for me because I've already mapped this move out. I've explained that on several streams. I've even put it in the book, right? So this is the situation. I still feel pretty much the same. We've got a stochastic still pointing slightly down. I think we'll dip into liquidity. And we start to point up. You're going to have retail go in, let's buy the dip, let's buy the dip. And then I think as you zoom out to a bigger time frame, we'd actually start to see the drop. Right? The drop is there. It's clear as day on a monthly time frame. We're not off to 100k just yet. We have a little bit more accumulating to do before we get there. All right. So my opinion is still pretty much the same. I wanted to share this and highlight that last chapter for you guys who actually asked me the questions, and we've had some kind of discussion around chapter 20. Then I hope this video was interesting to you. And again, if you haven't read the book yet, then that's again part of the point of this education. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.